I'm a reporter for ESPN and have the pleasure of moderating a panel among these women. Training ground: can sports improve a woman's leadership potential? I think that's a question we would all like to say the answer is yes to, and the good news is we have some numbers to really support that claim. Just a quick show of hands, how many of you all in here played sports at a time in your life? This is right in line with the numbers that we can't wait to share with you. I think it's safe to say the most accomplished athletes in this room are up on stage with me. Donna de Varona, a woman, a two-time Olympian, a two-time gold medalist swimmer, who has really pioneered to bring the playing field to a level place for women in this country. Next to her, Sarah Hughes, the darling of the Salt Lake City Olympics, gold medalist, figure skater, and now someone working in real estate development to build the world's largest ice rink in the Bronx. And my colleague, Laura Gentile, who founded ESPnW and has given a platform to share the most interesting stories of women in sports today. So a survey has been done by ESPnW and Ernst & Young's Women Athletes Business Network that Donna has really led the way on. Laura, could you share some of the findings of this survey with us?
Yeah, sure. And I'm feeling a little left out in that I'm the only one here who doesn't have an Olympic medal. But I did play college sports at Duke University. But yeah, the study that we worked on with Ernst & Young was really revealing. I think we all sort of intuitively understand the connection between women in sports and then potential leadership. Whether it's the teamwork that you learn or the motivational skills that you learn. But the study that we did with over 450 female executives really validated a lot of that. And what we found was basically 96% of the women that we spoke to had played sports. And these were managers and senior managers and C-level executives. And 50% of the C-level executives played at a university level. So all the things we think about when it comes to, women plus sports equals leadership were borne out in the survey, and was really validating, like I said, to many of the things that we thought. I mean, Donna, you live it every day, you see it every day, but I just know in my organization at ESPN, it's a very hard-driving, competitive organization, and the women there who have a sports background really have a leg up and really have the opportunity to shine alongside our colleagues.
And I think one of the wonderful things about this study is when we're contemplating what's going on the collegiate level, the shifting focus on whether athletes should be paid, how that will impact the opportunities for women in sport on the elite level, how that goes all the way back to Title IX, which was part of the Equal Education Amendments Act, really civil rights education, civil rights legislation applied to education, which opened the door for women to go to medical school and law school and sports. This study is important because it shows a direct link between opportunity on the field of play and in the classroom and how we're performing in businesses around the world, as well as leadership. So I grew up at a time when there was no Title IX, there was no college sports, very few high school sports for women. If you wanted to make it to the Olympics, President Biden really struck a chord with me. You really had to have a parent that supported you. Often it was a father. My dad was an All-American football player who raised his daughters like his son. And that gave me the opportunity in California, where they were experimenting with age group swimming, to really be championed by incredible coaches, which helped the U.S. women dominate in the sport up until now. But the Title IX issue is very important because as we look at education in America, and I've really enjoyed the speakers today, and retooling our opportunities for young people and protecting opportunity, this study shows the direct link between legislative initiatives and how that it can impact a culture. Some people have even thought, looking back at the civil rights legislation as it applies to education, that this was one of the most impactful pieces of legislation in our culture, and it's playing out now.
Well, thanks to Donna, Sarah and I have grown up in a world where we didn't know anything other than Title IX influencing the opportunities we were given. Sarah, if you could speak to an experience you had as an athlete, that one of those that reverberates in your mind that has helped you become now the successful businesswoman that you are.
Oh, success. I mean, we're trying to build the world's largest ice center in the entire world. It just happens to be in the Bronx. So it will be the largest in the Bronx, but also in the entire world, which is, it's notable.
Not a lot of competition in the Bronx.
Yeah, not a lot of competition in the Bronx yet. The biggest lesson that I learned that's translated is taking responsibility for yourself. And I see it in team sports, but my specialty was in figure skating, which is an individual sport. And it doesn't matter what your coaches do, your choreographers, or whoever's bringing you to the rink. If you don't take responsibility for yourself and practicing and being ready for competition, when you go out there, it's all on you. I mean, one of the hardest thing about competitive figure skating is not going to the rink or doing a million double axels and training. It's that second between when they announce your name and 20,000 people in the arena are suddenly drop dead quiet, and you go to the center of the rink and you have to wait for your music to start. And in those, it's so quiet, and the anticipation builds, and that has to be the hardest moment, but you have to know that you took responsibility for yourself and you're prepared. Now so it's this 9-ring facility with a 5,000-seat arena. I mean, I've been working on it for over 3 years now, and I work with a lot of business executives in real estate, with politicians, with lawyers, with a construction team, an architect. I mean, there's so many different segments of specialists that we work with. And there's no one who, people try, but there's no one who's like going to teach you how to, prepare for an interview or whatever your task at hand is. So, I know I have to take responsibility for myself, because when I sit across from someone in a room, if I don't know what's going on, nobody's going to be there to tell me.
Now, you both experienced success at such a high level at such a young age. And so often athletes competing at elite levels have really committed their entire life up to that point to that sport. Talk me through what you're doing now, Donna, to help athletes transition from the end of their sporting career into the business world or just into the next phase of life.
Well, what I found interesting, and we all go through this as women, we have to make so many transitions in our lives, but what we found out, and what I've experienced, is that you are so focused every day on a way of life, on a schedule, on working hard, on eating, on dealing with your competition, on setting these goals, on learning to deal with pressure, of expectation, of setbacks, that when it's all over and you decide to retire, first, we found out through our research that many athletes don't even realize they have all these incredible tools that they can apply somewhere else. It's too soon. And no one's talking them through that time when they may get depressed, they feel disoriented, they have to start all over. Now, years ago, I helped start the Women's Sports Foundation with Billie Jean King. We celebrated our 40th year this year, our 35th dinner, and we've been mentoring athletes basically on the side. What was exciting about going to Ernst & Young is Ernst & Young has a tradition of mentoring women through transitions, especially entrepreneurial women around the world, because the biggest emerging market, aside from China and India, is women around the world that are leaders and that are creating their small businesses, and they help them reach the next level. So when I met Beth Brooke from Ernst & Young, who was a Title IX recipient in basketball right before the London Olympics, and we started talking about this during the anniversary of Title IX, we both talked about this transition side and thought, well, how can we partner, and we're so lucky to have ESPN with us, how can we partner with other people to help these women transition? So we're building out a website, which you couldn't do 20 years ago. Ernst & Young is a global sponsor of this program and is affiliated with the Rio Olympics. We have a pool of athletes that want and are interested in the transition. And we've also partnered with the International Women's Forum of 6,000 women around the world who mentor each other, who are leaders, small business owners, big business owners, artists. And they're going to mentor more than a handful of our athletes for this year, but we're going to mentor them through the Women Athletes Business Network. And I haven't met anybody from Martina Navratilova to Nawali Udamakil, the Moroccan winner, the first African Islamic woman to win a gold, to Anita de France, who's our IOC member, that haven't, and of course Nadia Comaneci, who haven't bought into this program and are participating in it. But what's exciting about what's happening today and around the conversations is that there's so many of us that want to play it forward, and it's a perfect time for us to network with each other and provide these services. And this is a special area, and often people want to go to where they're comfortable. So we're finding a home for women around the world that want to reach out and participate in this program.
My younger sister, Emily, who is also an Olympic figure skater, she just started working at Google, and she signed up for this program, and she put in an application, and she was accepted, so now she's waiting to hear her match. But that they've done a very, very good job of reaching out to a lot of athletes, elite athletes from all different sports, and telling them about the program. And I think that's also a difficult part of athletes who, once they retire, knowing what their options are, is that they don't always know what programs are available. But the Ernst & Young Women's Research Network,
Women Athletes Business Network.
They've done an incredible job of reaching out.
But the other thing the study showed was that when they talked to executive women, and you said it about the women you work with, like Julie Foudy and all the women that have had a great sports background, is that women that are in higher positions, and I mean, you don't have to have a sports background, but they look for women that have had a team sport experience, not necessarily, doesn't have to be elite, to hire them, because they know when they come to work, it's not a 9-to-5 job. They're going to finish the job. They've got endurance, they have passion. They're most of these women are incredibly hireable and desirable.
Yeah, and another key point to that is that something that was revealed in the survey was that being competitive is a good thing. And I think sometimes as women we feel like, oh gosh, we don't want to be overtly competitive, or that seems unfeminine, whatever you might think. And this survey validated that hiring managers who are women look for that competitive spirit in fellow women. And if we can demonstrate that, it's really a great thing. It's really a great benefit. So for me, that was a big revelation, because when we were developing the survey, some of us weren't sure. We thought being competitive would come back as sort of a bad thing. Oh, she's too competitive, she's too hard driving. And that's the opposite of what we saw in the survey. And that competition was really saluted as a clear differentiator when you're looking at different candidates.
And this conversation isn't just about elite athletes having the potential for great leadership success, but Sarah, I would love to learn more about the community outreach that you're involved with through the Women's Sports Foundation and the landscape that you see among the school children that you're able to work with.
Yeah, I do a lot of work with Women's Sports Foundation as an athlete ambassador, and one of the programs that I really like is their Go Girl Go program, because it helps create and fund programming in inner cities, not to raise elite athletes, but to give girls access to sports. It's that kids, they want to be part of a team, they want to play, but they lack the access, and that's what the Go Girl Go Foundation, the Go Girl Go program, as part of the Women's Sports Foundation, does. And building on this study now, when I'm going to work and I'm in meetings with other people, women who play sports, one of the common things, and maybe this is how I view the word competitive, is these women, they say yes to life. They want to get involved, and that's how they originally got on a sports team. And if they didn't really have this enthusiasm, it was contagious. Once they were part of the team, they realized, hey, this is fun. Oh, we're going to go here, or not, after school, or I have so much to do and I'm so tired. They just say yes, and they take it on, and they go for it, and they dig in, and it carries over to other parts of their lives. And I see the same thing with these young girls all around the country in inner cities who are beneficiaries of this programming. And I see it at a level when I'm in Midtown in New York City, having a meeting talking about a $350 million project. It's a similar thread that carries through.
So Donna, as a woman who really championed Title IX and the opportunities that you believe women deserve, in your mind, what's next? What's the next challenge, and what do you want to see built upon?
Well, first of all, I'm a mother of a son and a daughter, and I was in a position and fortunate enough that they had a very good education. But back in the 60s, I worked for something called Operation Champ under Vice President Humphrey. It was an experimental program during the hot summers of the 60s, where we took champion athletes into inner cities and worked with Vista and Head Start to give a sports message, but also to promote midnight basketball. We had flatbed trucks with swimming pools go into the communities. We just don't do enough. So I think my focus, as it has been for a very long time, when I first went to Washington and testified as a 20-year-old about the importance of these programs, is to continue to fight for those programs, to promote a change in educational opportunities, to create community-based and private sector-based programs that open the door for new opportunities. I know Sarah's doing that in the Bronx, which is a big challenge. In New York, I did work once in helping build the Asphalt Green Project, where it's a private community initiative, and we built a 50-meter pool, 20 years ago, and now we have our first woman of color who came out of that swimming program representing us in the United States. I think we cannot be lax. All of you have a vote about focusing on protecting Title IX of the Equal Education Amendments Act, because it's done so much for so many. And we have to be involved actively. I was fortunate enough to be handpicked to work on the President's Council on Physical Fitness and found my way into the Senate. I left television. I was one of the first women to ever cover sports on television. And I used that platform, like Sarah is, to be a door opener. The one thing about where I was lucky in winning a gold medal is that you usually can get in the door, but you have to have something to say when you get there. So I'm going to continue to do this. I'm very excited about partnering with ESPN and what you've been doing in building that platform, which is a struggle every day, I'm sure, in that male-dominated world. And so that's my focus, and to grow this program globally, because what we do here has had a big impact around the world. In my day, when I competed in the Olympics, there was no woman voice on the International Olympic Committee, no athlete's voice on the International Olympic Committee. And a group of us worked very hard to make that change. Now there are there are 4 women on the executive board of the International Olympic Committee, and that is significant. And when you talk about diversity in business, research by Ernst & Young also demonstrated the more diverse your board, the more profitable your company. And that doesn't just mean gender, it means color. And so what we'll see now with the International Olympic Committee announcing a new program for 2020 is the force of these 4 women that are on the executive board, 2 of which were Title IX recipients, and 1 competed in fencing for Germany. So, it takes too long. It's been 40 years, but the results are there, and the research that proves it, which is really exciting.
Well, powerful voices, all 3 of you. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. I think now we will welcome Kathleen Matthews to the stage for our final panel of the day. Thank you all.
Thank you.